Hey there everybody, welcome to the Goldfishing companion video for my Kathril Aspect Warper Commander deck tech. If you haven't already seen that video, I will link it in the description below so you can get an idea of what this deck is looking to do, but this is the companion video where we'll be goldfishing this deck a couple of times to see how it will end up playing out and how it tries to win the game. So without further ado, we'll head into the tester here. So we have 3 lands off the bat, technically 4 with generous ent, and we do have a surveil land, which is awesome. We've got a couple of great options here for turn 4. We want to be playing Gerard's Orders, and then we even have Ephemerate, so a little bit of extra protection for Kathril. So we're going to go ahead and just kick us off here with this playthrough. All right, so Lush Portico, we don't have a turn 1, so we're happy to surveil 1 at this point in time. Violent Tumor, let's go ahead and put that in the graveyard to help build up those keywords for Kathril. So we've got Death Touch going, and I do need, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we do need to draw our first card here. My apologies. Then we'll go next. All right, so we've got Verdant Catacombs, which can search for a surveil land, and Shadowy Backstreet, which can search for a surveil land. So I think what we want to be doing is playing more surveil lands. And let's see, Wispmare, I think we'll put that into the graveyard as well to keep building up our graveyard. And then with our colorless here, we're going to cycle our generous ent to tutor up probably, let's see, with Verdant, I think we can search up into the Triome. So I think what we want to do is actually grab the, I think it's called like Underground something. So we will go ahead and search for Underground Mortuary with this Generate End cycle, adding to our graveyard. Underground Mortuary cycles into our hand, and then we go next. All right, we've got Skyrim Strike Force, so a good late game play here. So I think what we want to do, so we have the option to cast something for 3 mana or for 2 mana if we play a tapped land again. So I think what we want to do, considering we don't have any ramp or 2 mana drops, we probably want to surveil again. We don't want to run out the Skyrim Strike Force quite yet because that's more of a surprise once we have some creatures on board and are ready to attack. So I think we just keep surveilling here to power up our Kathril ETB as much as possible. Satyr Wayfinder, will keep that on top so that we can self-mill next turn. Although we probably do want to be playing Gerard's Orders next turn, so we'll have a little bit of a conflict there. So let's see, is there anything we can flicker? Probably not. Maybe, okay. So let's do it this way. So we'll go next. We'll go 2 mana unused there. I think what we want to actually do is we're going to play our Exotic Orchard. So we're on 4 mana. So what we can do is potentially play our Satyr Wayfinder and flicker it, and then have the flicker target Satyr Wayfinder again next turn to mill us for 8. Or we could Gerard's Orders to search for a creature. So we're going to entomb our Zetalpa, and I think, let's see, because that would put us at 7. Or do we want hexproof? So at the risk of not having card draw, I think we're going to put Slippery Bogbonder into our hand. So now we've got a great turn 5 Kathril. So we'll go, let's see, because that will be 7 cards, so we don't discard. So we'll go next. So let's do Command Tower. Then we've got 5 mana. So we could mill a bunch here. Or we would play Kathril. I think we want to play Kathril basically to just be... So we have Flying, Double Strike, Vigilance, Trample, Indestructible, Reach, and Death Touch. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 +1/+1 counters going Kathril. So she is a 10/10. 10/10 with all of those keywords. And then we will go next. So now we can hit for 20 damage. So do we have anything that can buff Kathril? I think what we want to do is play our land here. So Verdant Catacombs is going to be cracked for a Overgrown Tomb maybe. So I'll enter untapped. Then for 3 mana, we want to play our Skyhunter Strike Force. And I think what we want to do is just hold Getaway and Ephemerate for in case like we get a Swords to Plowshares. Because technically it doesn't have hexproof right now. So let's see, that would leave us 3 mana because then next turn we can hold up a Slippery Bogbonder. So what I think we'll do, so Skyhunter Strike Force took 3 mana. So I think then what we want to do is just tap 2 for Satyr Wayfinder to help us mill some more cards here. All right, so we did not hit a land, so all these will go into the graveyard. Oh, that was a disappointing Satyr Wayfinder. But now, Skyhunter Strike Force, we will attack one opponent with Kathril, which will be Vigilance. And then Skyhunter Strike Force will give it +1/+1. So technically, we would KO an opponent on turn 6. Assuming that they couldn't block, we would hold up, and we would tap it this way. We would hold up our command tower to then cast an Ephemerate, to then flicker Kathril next turn to get even more counters. And then we would then spread some of those counters maybe to Skyhunter Strike Force or something like that. And then I think then let's just see. So let's just see what our next play would have been here. So Kathril would re-enter and be an 11/11 if we held up an Ephemerate, assuming it was targeted. And then we would essentially on our upkeep, we would then target Satyr Wayfinder, I think, for the rebound copy of Ephemerate. We would put our Bountiful Promenade into our hand. And then these would go into our graveyard, and then this would go. So then we would draw a card for the turn. Oops, here, let's actually do this. So then on turn 7, we have another land. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana available. So now we would do, we could hold up interactions. We would really have 5 if we held up Getaway Glamour for interaction. And then we would probably just put out a bunch of blockers here. So we would have 5 mana to play with. So we'd probably go Sylvan Caryatid, Blanchwood Prowler, mill 3 cards, and then you put a land card from among them into our hand. We would probably want Selesnya Sanctuary to go into our hand. These would go into our graveyard. We would then play our Birds of Paradise. So the next turn we would have, we could return our Sanctuary here. We'd probably return a Surveilland to our hand, but tapping it for mana in response. And then we would have our Slippery Bogbonder. Meanwhile, we would be hitting with Kathril the whole time. So we'd probably be able to KO another opponent if it was not board wiped or anything like that, but we would have enough flicker cards to hold up interaction where Kathril would basically be untouchable because we would have flicker ready. And then in addition to, we had the option to hold our Slippery Bogbonder as well. So that's essentially how we would win in our first Goldfish here. We would just be killing via Voltron damage by turn 8 or turn 7. All right. The key here, I think, is that we wouldn't have our first KO until turn 6 because Kathril cannot attack until turn 6. All right, so our second Goldfish here, we are going to have 3 lands in our hand, which is perfect. We have some interaction here. We have some removal. We have something we want to discard in case we hit a discard outlet, and we have self-mill. So I think this is a perfect opener. We're going to go ahead and start here. So we are probably going to want to just play a forest, and then we're going to cycle Eagles of the North and grab probably one of our Surveil lands. We're missing white mana, so we would want the Shadowy Backstreet, which is the white-black Surveil land, or do we want, yeah, probably just white-black. Then on turn 2, I think we actually want to have a targeted discard here instead of running out Blanchwood Prowler. So here we would just play our bounce land, return our forest to hand, end the turn with 8 cards in hand, and we would discard our Skyhunter Skirmisher to discard down to 7. Then we would go next, so turn 3. We have the option to have 2 or 3 mana here, and I think we just want to run out the Blanchwood Prowler for 2. So we would surveil 1 with a Shadowy Backstreet. We would probably bin let's see, because we have at least 4 lands here. Yeah, we would probably want to bin the Fabled Passage. Then we would cast our Blanchwood Prowler for 2. Mill 3 cards. You may put a land card from among them into your hand. That's fine, because we're binning our Glissa Sunseeker, our Hermit Druid, which doesn't have any keywords, and then Tadeus, something like that. Then our turn 4, we're going to, we have, all right, so we'd probably want to run out our Vault, actually probably just Command Tower here. So we have 4 mana to play with here. We don't have a great turn 4 play. So what I think we want to do is hold up our Even Interrupter. Although the caveat there would be we probably want to hold this till after we play Kathril. So I think we don't really have a turn 4 play, if I'm being honest. So in that case, maybe we would just play our Godless Shrine, then tapped. All right, so we'll go next. Disappointing turn 4, admittedly. Turn 5, we are going to play our Bountiful Promenade. We have 5 mana available to cast Kathril. This is where we don't have amazing keywords in the graveyard here. So we would have Flying, Double Strike, which is important. We would have Reach and Hexproof. Actually, that's pretty good. Then we had a First Strike and Death Touch, so 6 1 counters. So let's play Kathril. So we have 6 1 counters going on to Kathril, and she would have First Strike, Death Touch, Reach, Hexproof, Flying, Double Strike. I would probably put all of those onto Kathril. Maybe give the Death Touch to Blanchwood Prowler, actually, because we can spread those out. So we'll make Blanchwood a pretty good blocker here, but Kathril would get the counter, so it would be a 9/9, and we would make our Blanchwood a 1/1 Death Touch, so it can block profitably. Then we would go next. We do have Berserk, so we have a 1-hit KO ready and waiting here. I don't have a lot of buffs, though, so I'm just going to play a Forest. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana at our disposal, and we would probably want to hold up Guardian of Faith or even Interrupter, but either way, I think what we're going to do is we're going to swing at somebody and cast Berserk, and then... let's see, you know what we could do? You just simply phase out the Kathril, right? You just simply phase it out. So we would play Berserk. Yeah, so we would be able to 1-hit KO somebody because it has Double Strike. It's a 9/9. So it would actually be an 18/18 with Double Strike. And would it have lifelink? No. Okay, that's fine. So Berserk goes in the graveyard. Then we would... just Guardian of Faith our way on out of here, and then we would just probably Guardian of Faith the Kathril, leave up Blanchwood Prowler as a profitable blocker, and that would go into the graveyard. So now with this phased out, we avoid the destroy trigger onto Berserk, which is pretty sweet. And then next turn, Kathril's still a 9/9 here, so I think we would play our Vault of Champions. Let's see, we probably want something that makes creatures or draws us card with Gerard's Orders. So I think what we want to do here is Gerard's Orders, because we have how much mana? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we have a 3-drop available. So yeah, I think we want to Gerard's Orders. We have enough mana to hold up even Interrupter, and we would tutor for Zetalpa to put into the, graveyard here. Zetalpa goes into the graveyard, and we're probably going to tutor up. Honestly, I think I want some sort of overrun effect here. Let's actually search for a Toski. So that cost us 4 mana to play that Gerard's Orders. We've got 3 to hold up here. I think we would just pass the turn and then continue to swing with Kathril. So if Kathril gets through, we would be 1 hit away from KOing an opponent, because they would hit for presumably 18 damage on one opponent. And then we would hold up Aven Interrupter. So I'm going to assume we have to blow this off of a board wipe. And I'm going to assume Blanchwood has probably also died at this point for a blocker, for a profitable block. Then we'll go next. All right, so we're holding Boseiju, so we'd play Command Tower, so we're on 8 mana right now. So I think what we want to do then is probably just play Toski, and then Kathril would get in for more damage, And then we would probably just use the Boseiju for 1 mana, so then Toski would cost 4. And then Boseiju goes into the yard. Now, we would get the double strike off of Kathril, so we would draw 2 cards. And then perfect, we have Overwhelming Stampede. So then next turn, we would play our Dakmor Salvage here, and we'd be on 8 mana still, and we could either Aerial Extortionist if there's a target that really needs to die, or we would Overwhelming Stampede to finish off our last opponent. So that is a win by turn 9. All right, we'll restart our third and final Goldfish here. All right, so we have 1, 2 cards. Let's just play with it. Let's just see how the deck functions with only 2 lands. We do have a piece of ramp here, which is good. So let's go ahead and draw our first card for the turn. So we will play our Temple Garden tapped. Then we will go next. Ooh, that is awesome. Okay, so we'll play our Golgari Rot Farm here, returning the Temple Garden. Then we will end the turn, discarding the Skyhunter Skirmisher, and go next. Then we will play our Exotic Orchard, so we're on 3 mana here. So we could either play a Sylvan Caryatid, a Fauna Shaman, or a Dogged Detective. Now, I think I want to actually run out the Fauna Shaman, if I'm not mistaken. Although, let's see. So next turn, we'll have, if we were to ramp, we would have access to 5 mana, but we wouldn't want to play Kathril yet. But it might actually just be better. Oops, there's not enough. Maybe we actually, do we ramp for Incarnation Technique next turn? That is an interesting conundrum. However, we can discard Rumbleweed with the Fauna Shaman. So I think we actually discard Rumbleweed. We're going to be a little bit inefficient with our mana here, but I think that will be our turn. And then we'll go, so we'll play a Temple Garden untapped, taking 2. So we have 4 mana, so we have 3 mana to play with. So we'll Dog a Detective and play, first we'll Surveil 2. So we definitely want to send these into the yard. I think we'll actually keep Birds of Paradise on top in case we need the extra mana. We'll run out the Esper Sentinel, so that uses up a white, and then we have Fauna Shaman for 1. So we'll discard our Rumbleweed here to search for something that can draw us a bunch of cards or overrun. Maybe just an Elesh Norn, if I'm being honest. Maybe just an Elesh Norn, because we probably need some removal. Okay, so with Esper Sentinel on the field, we're going to pass, and we're going to assume we only draw 1 card off of Esper Sentinel, and then our next turn, turn 5. So let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Technically, we have 5 mana. And for our keywords, we have Vigilance, Reach, Trample, Flying, First Strike, Double Strike. So we don't have Indestructible or Hexproof, which makes Kathril pretty vulnerable. Do we have any protection for Kathril? No, we do not. Maybe we actually just, we don't cast Kathril yet because we want Sylvan Caryatid in the graveyard. We can discard the Sylvan Caryatid and grab a basic Borderland Explorer. We're going to discard the Sylvan Caryatid for Hexproof. Then we're going to search for, we'll search for a Plains. We will play the Plains, right? So we've used 2 mana there. Then I think we can cast our Birds of Paradise for 1, and then we can use the other, oh, we only have 1 green. Okay, so my apologies, everybody. We're going to actually search for a forest because we need to use the double green. So we put the Borderland, so birds will cost 1, and then we'll tap 1 for Fauna Shaman here. So we're going to discard Elesh Norn. The reason why is we can use Incarnation Technique next turn to reanimate it. We're actually going to grab a, we're going to grab Aven Interrupter off of the Fauna Shaman. So you have protection for later. And then we pass the turn, and we're going to assume that we probably have blocked with Dogged Detective, but I feel like that's too much of an advantage to assume that it would go to the graveyard. But I think we could assume that Esper Sentinel will trigger once, and then we'll go next. So turn 6. I think we go Kathril. I think we play Kathril, right? Oh, we have 7 mana, actually. We have 7 mana off of the birds. What I would like to do is cast Kathril and then Incarnation Technique to reanimate the Elesh Norn and the Rumbleweed. So I think that's what we want to do here. I think we hold the Berserk. We're going to assume that we cast the Berserk on somebody else's turn to kill their creature, but we'll cast Kathril here. So we've got Vigilance, Reach, Trample, Flying, First Strike, Hexproof is 6, Double Strike is 7. So our Kathril will be a 10/10. With all those keywords, it has... does it have Indestructible? No. Okay, but it will have Hexproof. So we're vulnerable to a board wipe as we pass the turn here. We're going to assume that Esper Sentinel draws 1. And then, let's see, I think we still hold the Agademes in our hand. X needs to be equal to a lot for Agademes to be useful. I think we actually just need to run out the Agademes, but it's turn 7. That's a little weird. So we have up to 8 mana here. I think we do have to run it out. I think we have to run it out. Then we play Incarnation Technique so that we return Rumbleweed to the field. We return Elish Norn to the field. Oops, this is in the exile. These stay in the graveyard. So first we're going to mill 5, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so these all go in the graveyard. And then we do it again. So then we get the Elish Norn, and then we get mill another 5, and then we would get back. We would still get the Rumbleweed back, but this would go in our graveyard. So then we put the Gem Razor there. Wooded Bastion. Okay. So now our Kathril has been pumped to above 10 power, meaning that we can then swing for over 21 commander damage, which with Vigilance, and we would nuke a bunch of our opponent's stuff, and then we could actually swing out with a bunch of our stuff here to then target another opponent, assuming that we could hit both opponents there for lethal. So that is the deck. I think another successful showing here, mostly getting knockouts via commander damage with Kathril, but we've got some ancillary pumps going on as well. That is Kathril Aspect Warper. If you guys enjoyed this video, leave a like on the video. I always appreciate it. It helps me with the YouTube algorithm. And if you like this sort of content, consider subscribing for all of that good stuff. And if you haven't yet checked out my deck tech running over Kathril, check that out. I'll have the link in the description below. And as always, thank you all for watching, and hopefully we'll see you all in the next one.